Bible directs us to treat the stranger the way we would treat Jesus. I think that's a reference to Matthew 25:35. And so there it says, there are different interpretations, but it's generally interpreted in Matthew 25:35 to say that, for I was a stranger and you let me in. That's the language I think that you're referring to, isn't it?
Yes.
Because I don't know any place where it says treat the stranger the way you treat Jesus, but for I was a stranger and you let me in.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you look at that language that's there, written in English, you know that it was interpreted from Greek. And that section of Matthew, interpreted from Greek, the Greek word for stranger, the Greek word that was used in place of stranger is xenos. It's spelled X-E-N-O-S, xenos. Now, in that connotation, it means invited guest or guest foreigner. And so when someone is invited to come to your home and you let them in because they're invited and you treat them well, that's the expression of Matthew 25:35. It's a misunderstanding to conclude that Matthew 25:35 that says, for I was a stranger and you let me in, does not mean that we're commanded by God to welcome anyone who might come into our home, whether they are invited or not. And so that would be my answer, that it's clear that we simply can't open our doors to anyone who would come in and share with them the proceeds of our labor, or let them do whatever they might want to do. After all, it is our home. And so that's my response to that particular question, and I think that I'm on more sound theological ground than the people who use that verse inappropriately.
What is the impact of your faith and your opinions when you talk about the Latinos?
God's children like everybody else. I mean, it's not a hard equation. We're all created in His image, and I believe that profoundly. And I think it's a sin for us to advantage or disadvantage anyone based upon their race, their ethnicity, their national origin, their gender, for that matter. And so I don't think that any of us should be doing identity politics. We just say that everybody in America, as those that are here legally, natural-born citizens, naturalized citizens, and legal immigrants, all should be treated equally, with equal opportunity and with equal respect. And I believe in the dignity of every human person. And that's part of our shared Catholic, Roman Catholic faith as well. Our bishop, before that statement was released, happened to think that the bishop was traveling at the time, and so this statement may have come out of his office, not having had the benefit of him seeing the full quote of what I had to say. And I think that if Bishop Nicholas would have had an opportunity to see the full quote and understand that I said that the valedictorians, the dreamers who are valedictorians, are a very, very small number, but they also tug at my heartstrings like they do everyone else's. But my comments were not about dreamers. They were about drug smugglers who came across the southern border, and I've watched them, I've been there to apprehend them, I've unloaded illegal drugs with my hands. I know what's going on that border. There are a lot of people that know what's going on that border. But I was talking about exclusively about drug smugglers, and if I hurt anybody's feelings, then I hurt the feelings of drug smugglers only. And you know, the sanctity and the dignity of every human person needs to be respected. But I'd also reflect back upon the time that Jesus drove the money changers out of the temple. He made a whip, he tipped over their tables, he drove them out of the temple. And I don't notice that Jesus had great respect for their feelings when he drove them out of the temple. And I'm talking about drug smugglers. So I'm not very concerned about hurting the feeling of drug smugglers, but that's all that I was addressing. And I would hope that the bishop would go back and review my statement, and I think he would come to that conclusion too. And I'm aware that there's a lot of pressure within the church to be sensitive to people's feelings, but it's very, very important that we not see wedges driven between people because of race or ethnicity or national origin or gender, as I said. And I profoundly believe that. And I see that there are people, this is without regard to our bishop, whom I have great respect for. But from a political party standpoint, we have watched as Democrats have tried to divide Latinos away from Republicans. They've spent millions of dollars calling Republicans racist. They do that because they have a political benefit from that. It empowers them. And I think what they're doing with that, when they willfully divide people, when they misinform people and pit them against each other, pit Americans against Americans, I don't think it's not just wrong, it's a sin. And I think that our bishop would recognize that too if he could see what's going on within the Democrat Party. I made a statement about drug smugglers only. So why would anybody think that had anything to do with race or ethnicity? I am flabbergasted by that. But don't Latinos also despise drug smugglers? I think they do. And so when I say that I want to stop illegal drug traffic into the United States and in the United States because it damages our people, it hurts our children, it costs lives in America, and it costs 70,000 lives in Mexico, by the way, I want to stop that. So I think everybody wants to stop that. But my statement had nothing to do with race. And there's no way.
Latinos.
I like them like everybody else. I like all of God's children fit in the same category without distinction. Whether they're brunettes like you, whether they're blondes like a lot of Norwegians are, it doesn't matter to me. I see the spirit in people. You know that. You know when I look in your eyes, I see a certain spark in there, and I like that. And if I didn't see that spark, we might not be talking today, but you care about what you do. And you love people, and you're a fair-minded person. I'm attracted to that, and I say that I know people on both sides of the political aisle, people of all races and ethnicities. The friends that I have collected over the years are people who have good, strong, wholesome, altruistic convictions. Most of them are strong, faithful Christian people. I admire it. I respect it. Whatever the package is in.
What about the words that you use in Pocahontas about Latinos are as a dog?
Okay, there's one more thing to be said about this piece, the last question that you asked, though, and that is that the characterization that I gave of drug smugglers was a characterization that was given to me from the Border Patrol. I saw it with my own eyes. I unloaded the drugs with my own hands, but it's not only me. That is the characterization that the Border Patrol gave me, with a little bit of exception. You know, they would say, so that's a part of this answer that you need to hear too. I don't know why it matters. I think it's important. It's important that our cities and our counties be populated by people who are lawfully present here. And that's a different question than the one you asked. I'm not okay with a growing population of people who are unlawfully present in the United States. Not that there aren't good people within that group, but it erodes the rule of law, and it makes it impossible for America to determine its own immigration policy.